Yeah.
I don't expect much.
Well, I don't know why you'd think Triple H can't deliver a good match. He did so last year with Daniel Bryan. The series of matches with Evolution versus The Shield, I thought he held his own. So,
right there,
granted,
there, he worked Daniel Bryan in The Shield. You could take him.
Yeah, but he more than held his own. I mean, I don't think it's a situation where he was carried.
Now he's going to have to work Sting, who's been out of action for a year, and it's not going to be as good.
Yeah, Triple H is going to have to do the carrying, but I also don't think it's like he's in there with Hulk Hogan with 2 bad knees who could barely get off his feet. And I saw that Sting-Hogan match back in, 2011 at Bound for Glory in Philadelphia. Yeah. And that was downright watchable. So if Sting could get a little bit of something out of Hulk Hogan, I just think both of them will have their working shoes on. And I think Triple H, at his best, is still one of the best wrestlers in WWE, even at whatever he is, 45 years old. So, yeah, I'm more optimistic, I think, that we'll get a watchable match than you are. All right, U.S. title. I'm trying to go through these a little bit more quickly. U.S. title, John Cena versus Rusev. I'm not thrilled that for the last couple of years they've felt the need to kind of marginalize John Cena and move him into WrestleMania's undercard, mid-card. If I was booking WWE, I'd still have him very much in the main event. I wouldn't think twice about it. He's still the biggest star in all of wrestling. And they treat him like it the rest of the year. But now, for whatever reason, the last couple of years, they've tried to make him this kind of gatekeeper for whatever the new hot star is going to be. And I don't know how well it's worked. I don't know how much it did for Bray Wyatt last year, especially since John Cena went over, which I thought he should. And I think he should go over this year, and I think he will. I think Rusev's been great. I'm really impressed by how he's developed both the character on the mic and certainly in the ring. He's had some really impressive matches. I think his offense looks credible. I think he's made a lot of strides that even Roman Reigns hasn't made, and more than Roman Reigns may become the real shining star of WWE's developmental system, true developmental system, not the guys from old indie stars or international stars, that kind of thing. I think he might be the one that they can really brag about. As I said, I expect John Cena makes him tap to the STF. Harry, how about you?
If Stu Sachs were here, I think he would call John Cena the Jay Strongbow of WrestleMania. It's the gatekeeper position, like you're talking about, Al. But, I feel like he's already suffered a defeat of sorts at this WrestleMania. Just the fact that he is on the mid-card. So I can't imagine him digging a bigger hole and losing this one. But I see how Rusev could benefit from a loss. I think the need to keep him undefeated has hampered creative booking options with him. Maybe this will free them up. Maybe we'll see Rusev do more than maybe he'll take on more dimensions than that of a Russian monster. But other than that, if Cena beats Rusev, then we're going to get this whole debate about whether Rusev's streak meant nothing, and there's a rising star who could have ended his undefeated streak. But to me, if you're talking realistic credibility, it makes sense that what's he, a 12-time world champion now? Like John Cena,
15,
that he's the one to end the streak.
Yeah, John Cena wins the title, I think. But for me, I think that this is the end of Rusev. I like Rusev. I mean, I'm never excited when a Rusev match is on. I'm never going to come running into the room to see Rusev. But he's okay. He's different. He's unique, which I like. Because there's too many guys who are cookie cutter and look the same and sound the same, and Rusev doesn't. He has a different style and a realistic style. But he's the next iteration of Vladimir Kozlov, of Ludwig Borga, of the big, tough, unbeatable foreign menace who, as soon as they lose that first match, they begin losing every single match and fall apart. Next thing you know, by this time next year, he'll be in a comedy tag team with Santino Marella. I mean, I think that this is the end of Rusev. Cena wins. They end up splitting Rusev and Lana, putting Lana in some more of a fitting role with the Divas division or with Total Divas. And I think this is kind of the end of Rusev.
That could definitely happen, but that would just be WWE bad booking. I don't think there's anything about Rusev that requires him to be moved down the card like that. And I think he's infinitely better than the guys you mentioned. I understand the similarity in the kind of foreign menace gimmick, but I think he's shown much more than those guys.
He's better in the ring. He's just not a great talker. He doesn't have a great look. He's not a good merchandise guy. And there are at least 6 guys down in NXT who all have those qualities over him. And I could very easily see him being a guy who gets phased down and eventually out to make room for some of those other guys down in NXT. He's kind of hit this peak. He's been undefeated. He goes into a WrestleMania match with John Cena, which anybody in the world would love, but I don't see him having much more lasting staying power after that.
Yeah. We'll see. Next up, well, let me quickly give what the rest of the team's picks were. I didn't mention for Sting and Triple H, everybody picked Sting. Stu Sachs, Kevin McElvaney, Mike Bessler, Louis D. Everybody's got Sting. All of us got Sting, I think. So I guess that's the closest thing to a sure thing. For the U.S. title match, Stu picks Rusev. Kevin picks Rusev. Mike Bessler picks John Cena. And he also predicts that the spinning U.S. Championship returns. And Louis picks John Cena. So kind of a mixed bag here. It sounds like more people going with Cena than not, but we have a few Rusev takers. Speaking of Taker, Undertaker is back and will be taking on Bray Wyatt. I don't love this match, and that's an overstatement. I'm not at all interested in this match, and every time I even think about this match, when it comes to the ring, to me it just feels like kind of a burn. It's just a reminder that they ended the streak, and when they ended the streak last year, I think I had the same reaction as everybody else. I was down on it at first, but gave it some thought, and I came around and I thought, well, if that was the end of The Undertaker's career, and I assumed at the time it was, then I thought it was poignant and fitting, and I understood what they were doing, and I was optimistic about the plan to make Lesnar so hot that whoever beats him would be made, that kind of thing. A year later, almost none of that stuff's happened, and The Undertaker is back and wrestling at WrestleMania again. So, to me, what was it all for? And I just don't much care about the Bray Wyatt character. I think it's really fizzled out. I think it's lost its novelty. To me, he's become one of the worst promo guys in all of wrestling, just because it's gibberish. It's meant to sound scary and deep and all this, but it's just nonsense. And every time he comes into the ring, I just hit mute because I know we're about to listen to 7 to 10 minutes of just, again, gibberish, meaningless gibberish. I know for some people this is something of a dream match, the two kind of dark mythical figures in WWE, but I just couldn't care less. I thought Undertaker looked pretty bad last year. A year older, I can't imagine he's going to look very good. I don't see these guys having great chemistry. So yeah, I'm not excited at all about this match. That said, I expect the Undertaker to win. And the other bad thing about that is because it's such an underwhelming match, it tells me that this absolutely won't be Undertaker's last match. So I suppose we get him back again next year, and that's going to be another reminder of that they needlessly ended the streak. So anyway, Harry, what's your take on this?
I think you're correct about Bray Wyatt. I mean, he has lost so much since the breakup of the Wyatt family, because what made him so compelling was the hold that he had over people, and people of that ilk. And you always wondered who else would he bring into his web. But as a loner, he doesn't have that same charisma, and it's hard to get excited about this match because it seems like the implications don't matter, assuming Undertaker wins. Obviously, he can't afford to lose this one, or he might as well just stay dead and buried. But I kind of go back and forth on what type of match would be better. On the one hand, maybe the Undertaker needs to really steamroll Bray Wyatt to kind of redeem his dominance, but at the same time, knowing the Undertaker, he's going to want to have a classic match. And Bray Wyatt, he's a decent worker for someone of his physique. So it could be a good match. I guess look at the bright side. Undertaker will be up to 22-1. But other than that, I don't really have any strong feelings about it.
I really hope they don't do a 22-1 graphic, even try to pretend that there's anything at stake anymore. I really hope that I haven't given that much thought. I hope that they know better than to do that. Dan, what do you think about this match?
Yeah, on the surface, it seems like it's pretty one-sided that this is the Undertaker's match. Only because, I mean, Bray Wyatt's just not in his league. Bray doesn't have the upside that Undertaker does, even at this downside of his career. Now, maybe WWE does something more compelling. Maybe they do a match where Bray Wyatt recruits Undertaker to be a member of the Wyatt family. I mean, that would be new and fresh and relatively interesting. I don't think it'll happen, but something like that would be nice. What I'd love to see happen is Undertaker take on the Terry Funk ECW role. And for 20 plus years, we've had Undertaker as the dead man, the invincible one who gets up and absorbs all this punishment. And now we finally see him as what he is. He's a guy who's near the end of his career, who is just yearning for one more title run. And I would love to see this be the first step of humanizing the Undertaker and preparing him for that. Maybe even, say next year's WrestleMania, Roman Reigns versus Undertaker for the title. A retirement match for the Undertaker if he loses. That way, Roman Reigns beat the guy who ended the streak. Reigns gets one last chance at him, or Undertaker gets one last chance at Reigns. It could all make sense over the long term. I don't think there's any long-term plans like that in place, as much as I'd like to see that happen. So I think it'll be Undertaker with the win, and then we'll see him again in 11 months when he's facing whoever else next year. But I'd love to see them do a little bit more and kind of rebuild the character of The Undertaker at this stage.
Yeah, I don't know how motivated they're going to be doing that, considering that he's got to be at the tail end of his career. I do expect him to be back next year in Dallas, his home state. I think that that's as good a chance as any as being his retirement match. And I like John Cena as his opponent. I mean, for years that was, the elusive WrestleMania main event that we didn't get. People have kind of forgotten about it for the last few years, but I think that could still feel special, and I think Taker should win on his way out. So running out of time here, so let's go through these last few ones quickly. The IC title ladder match. Not a lot to say here. Like everybody else, I'm amazed, and then maybe not so amazed that Daniel Bryan is in this. Just about everybody here from the team is picking Daniel Bryan to win this. I'm not. I mean, and for all the reasons that he's not in the main event, I just don't think WWE's very high on him, and so I pick Wade Barrett to retain here in what'll be an entertaining 7-minute spot fest, not particularly consequential, not particularly memorable. How about you, Harry?
Just one quick aside. I am glad to see that secondary titles are receiving so much attention, so much prominence at WrestleMania this year, with someone the caliber of Daniel Bryan in an Intercontinental title match, or Rusev versus Cena U.S. title match. So hopefully this is the beginning of something where they'll breathe some life in these championships. Maybe they will take Stu's advice and not have the WWE World title not as prominent. I guess we'll see about that. But as far as this match goes, I think Barrett does stand a very good chance of retaining. I think he is the one person that both WWE corporate and the fans agree upon. I think people love to hate him, and I'd like to see Barrett in the main event picture. And I think he even has tremendous potential as a fan favorite. But we were saying all those things about Cesaro last year, and now he's with Tyson Kidd. So go figure.
Right. Dan?
Yeah, that's a good point that Harry makes. I was recently at a WWE house show, and I was really impressed by Barrett. I mean, he looks like he's in the best shape of his career, I think. When you see him up close and everything, he looks good. His moves are crisp. Everything looks good. And if he can remain injury-free, I think he does have potential at the world title picture. And Bryan, I'd love to see win, but I think that'll overshadow some things. So I think that it's probably going to be maybe Dolph Ziggler.
Yeah. Seth Rollins and Randy Orton, is getting surprising amount of TV time. They've actually kind of treated it as the main event of the last few Raws. It's gotten that final quarter-hour slot. So it seems to be a big deal for WWE. probably has one of the better chances of all the matches of the night of being a really good match, in that you've got two of the best workers in the ring in a singles match with a pretty good build, with some history, with a real rivalry there. So if they're given 11, 12 minutes, I'd expect them to have a pretty good match here. And I think Rollins goes over here, just because I think a lot of babyfaces are going to be winning throughout the night. This is probably as good an opportunity to get a heel over, and I'm thinking Rollins factors big in WWE's plans for the next few months. So I'd look for them to keep him strong. Harry?
Well, I'm looking forward to this match, I think, more than any other. And I guess I'll take the opposing view of Al here. I think Randy Orton will win. And the reason is, I don't want this to turn into, the typical 80s stories of PWI, the superstars at the crossroads, because I don't think Orton is quite at the crossroads yet. He's a few years younger than Cena. I still think he has a lot to offer. I get frustrated that he still has such a bland character. I remember that used to drive Dave Lanker up the wall. But I still think there's potential with Orton, and I think he would be very poorly served by a loss here. And I think Seth Rollins does such a good job. He has so much heat, and he's had so much coverage on TV over the past year. I think he can sustain a loss, and it won't be a big deal to him. But I think Orton would be hard for him to recover from a loss. So I wouldn't like to see that.
Yeah. How about you, Dan?
I agree with Harry on that. And I like to mention of Dave Lenker hating the bland personality of Randy Orton. I think that Rollins can lose this match, and he's still got the Money in the Bank briefcase, so it doesn't matter. So Orton can get the win, and however it goes, but Rollins always has that title match in his back pocket that he can bring out. It would almost be interesting, not that I expect it to happen or anything else, but again, I'm looking for things that might surprise us with WrestleMania, because it does seem very predictable from top to bottom, is maybe Orton cashing in that title match for the U.S. title, in Orton against Cena or something along those lines. Again, I don't expect it to happen, but I'm sorry, it's Rollins, not Orton.
Yeah.
But I do expect Orton to win the match over Rollins, because Rollins does have that title match at his discretion.
Yeah. Stu and Louis D pick Randy Orton as well. Kevin and Mike pick Seth Rollins. And they all picked Undertaker except Louis D, who picked Bray Wyatt. And he expects a Wyatt's reunion. I'll blow through, I've said that about all the matches, but for real this time, I'll blow through the last couple. Women's tag team match, AJ Lee and Paige versus Nikki and Brie Bella. I pick the Bellas to win. How about you, Harry?
I think I'm going with AJ Lee and Paige. I seem like I'm picking all the baby faces tonight. But, the Bella twins, maybe one of you guys can explain this to me. Have any of you heard an explanation as to why Brie is suddenly Nikki's cheerleader? Has that ever been explained?
No. Well, yeah, I have a very good explanation. The storyline feud between them was one of the worst feuds in the history of wrestling, and they abandoned ship wisely.
Great.
That's about it.
Yeah.
They're women. You can't understand women. Women, they don't.
All right, Booker. How about you, Dad?
AJ Lee and Paige.
I'm with you.
Let the baby faces win WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Deep chance.
Stu picks AJ and Paige. Kevin picks the Bellas. Mike and Louie also pick the Bellas. And I pick the Bellas. I think I might have just said I'd pick AJ Lee and Paige. I don't. And the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. Who knows with this? I actually liked it last year. I thought the build was pretty good. I thought Vince McMahon was probably excited about doing something like this and paying tribute to Andre, who he was pretty fond of. This year, it just feels like they feel obliged to do it, so they're going through the motions. But, I don't know. There's nothing really to get excited about here. Because the Miz and Mizdow, the angle between them is probably more important than anything else in this match. I'd expect one of the two of them to win. I'll pick Mizdow to get that big pop from the audience. Maybe he has his Virgil moment and finally stands up to Miz. So that's my pick. How about you, Harry?
Well, I can see it coming down to Mizdow and Miz, and Mizdow ignoring Miz's orders and throwing him over the top. But I'm going to go with a very bland choice. Let me ask you guys, is Big Show in this?
He is.
Yeah.
He's Stu Sack's pick.
I think he will win the Battle Royal. He's the obvious heir to Andre's legacy. It seems like at one point in his career, he could win this Andre the Giant Battle Royal. That could be his claim to fame. But I think if Big Show wins, that may cement this as the most boring WrestleMania of all time.
How about you, Dan?
He is Andre's son, after all. Harry.
That's right.
Exactly.
He has a
Giant
shirt
brother.
to prove it.
I recognize that shirt from the Princess Bride. Harry asked, is Big Show in it? Is Mark Henry officially announced?
Yes.
Then I'll go with Mark Henry.
Okay.
Same thing. It's going to be planned and whatever, but let's let a guy who's been with the company for 12 or 13 years finally get a win at WrestleMania.
Yeah. Stu
and
picks
maybe to Al's point earlier, maybe if they had some sort of real prize, not just a trophy or something, but maybe they got a title match on Raw, just anything.
Yeah. Stu picks Big Show. Kevin picks Mizdow. Mike picks The Miz. Louis D picks a returning Sheamus, which is interesting. I mean, that's definitely in the realm of possibility. But I'd expect more likely that they save him for that Monday night. They got so much going on in the show. If he made his return, I think it just kind of get lost in the shuffle. Any chance of here's a dark horse, Samoa Joe?
No,
I don't think so either. Just threw it out there. And then there's some kind of tag team match that hasn't been finalized. Looks like it'll be Cesaro and Kid, Matadors and New Day, Usos. And one of the Usos is banged up, so I'm thinking they're out of this match. None of those are particularly over, so I assume they'll keep it on Cesaro and Kid.
I agree with that. Yeah.
Harry?
Yes, too.
Okay. That's about it. Thanks so much, guys. Dan, I hope to be talking to you right after the show. That's the tentative plan to review WrestleMania. And I hope everybody enjoys the show out there. I hope you guys enjoy it. Thanks so much for joining me, and I will see you next week.
Take care.